Good morning children. I welcome you all to another interesting episode of EDUSAT. We were continuing the chapter A Letter to God. We will continue the part that is part 2 and this also is a part of your English syllabus of standard 10th. We have analyzed a lot of difficult words and the gist of the title in the last chapter, in the last part. Now we will progress on to other things. Let us see what other things you have in store for you in part 2. Well, in part 2 we have interesting question answers which is understanding the text. Let us look at the questions. Where did Lencho live? Okay. What will be the answer? Lencho lived in the house which was on the crest of a low hill. What is the second question? What did he hope for? What did Lencho hope for? Lencho hoped for rain to water his cornfields. What is the third question? What did he say about raindrops? Lencho expected it to rain. He thought that raindrops as new coins would bring more harvest and more money. He compared the big raindrops with pieces of coins and the little ones with 5 pieces of coins. The big raindrops were 10 rupee coins and the small raindrops were 5 rupee coins. Now, how did the rain change? What will be the answer? When it was raining, suddenly a strong wind began to blow. And along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. So, this was how the rain changed. What is the next question? What happened to Lencho's corn fields? What will be the answer? For an hour, the hail rained. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. So, this should be your answer to the question as to what happened to Lencho's corn fields. What is the next question? Who did Lencho have faith in? The answer, my dear children, is very simple. Lencho had complete faith in the Almighty. He had complete faith in God. Now, who did Lencho write a letter to? To whom was the letter addressed? The answer again is very simple. Lencho wrote a letter to God. What is the next question? Who read the letter? The postmaster read the letter that was written by Lencho the farmer. What is the next question? What did the postmaster do? So, how should we answer this particular question? We should answer it in a very simple manner. The postmaster was a generous person. And when he read about Lencho's letter, he was thinking about what he could do to help him. And he came up with the idea of collecting money from employees and friends and give it as charity to Lencho. He will also give a part of his salary for this charitable purpose. That is what he thought. Was Lencho surprised to find a letter for him with the money in it? No, Lencho was not at all surprised to find a letter for him because he was confident that God would send him money that he needed. See how simple and how devout Lencho was. What was the next question? What was Lencho's reaction after getting the letter? What was his reaction, children? When he got the letter and the coins, he counted them. He found out that there were only 70 pesos and this made him very angry. So, what do we see about Lencho? Lencho was a devout farmer. He had faith in God, but at the same time he knew that God would fulfill all his wishes. And when he found only 70 pesos inside the envelope instead of 100 pesos, he was very, very angry. So, this should be your answer to this particular question. Moving on. Why did Lencho keep on looking at the sky throughout the morning? So, what will be the answer? Lencho kept looking at the sky because he expected that it would rain on that particular day. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour or at least a quick shower. Why was the field white after the storm? Now we learnt in the previous slides that there was a hailstorm. What happened? The fields turned white. So why were the fields white? For an hour the hail rained and it destroyed the field of Lencho. The white ice balls from the hail made the fields look white after the storm. So this was a very terrible situation. Lencho had put in a lot of efforts for reaping a golden harvest, but what happened? All his efforts went down the drain. It started snowing because of the hailstorm, and after a quick span of time, the entire field was covered with ice pellets and it looked entirely snowy white. Why did Lencho keep looking at the sky throughout the morning? This is another important thing, because he thought that it is going to rain. Now, what did Lencho say? That the raindrops were like new coins. He said that the raindrops were like new coins. Why did he say? Why did he use that particular term? Lencho compared the raindrops with new coins because he believed that rain would fetch them good harvest, which in turn would give them money. He compared the big raindrops with 10% pieces and the little ones with the 5. Okay. So, what do we see in this particular answer? Lencho is comparing raindrops to what? To pesos or coins or money. Big raindrops he thought were 10 rupee coins and smaller raindrops he thought were 5 rupee coins. He was very excited about the fact that the more it rains, the more that they will be able to harvest and the family will enjoy a good fortune. And now, why did Lencho prefer locust to the storm? I already explained to you the meaning of locust in the previous slide. What does locust mean? It refers to an insect which destroys the harvest. But why did Lencho prefer locust instead of storm? Locusts were preferred by Lencho instead of storms because it would not have damaged so much as it was caused by the hailstorm. So, we see in this particular slide that Lencho was of the mentality that a hailstorm would cause too much damage, but if at all there was a locust attack, it would cause less damage. So, he preferred locusts instead of a hailstorm. Did Lencho try to find out who sent money to him? Why or why not? What will be the answer? No, Lencho didn't find out who had sent the money to him because he was confident that God would listen to his wish and send him money. He had deep faith in God. So, what did I tell you in part 1, children? Lencho was a devout man. He had deep faith in God. And when he received the envelope containing money, he was confident that it was in fact God who had sent the money to him, and he was not at all surprised or astonished. What would be the reaction of the post office employees when they read the second letter? Now, the post office employees would be angry with Lencho, as it was because of them Lencho got at least 70 pesos, and instead of thanking them, Lencho blamed them for taking the money. So, like I said, Lencho was very confident of the fact that God would give him 100 pesos so that he can start work in his fields again. But when he received 70 pesos, naturally he was angry. He did not doubt God for 1 minute, but he thought that it is the post office employee who are doing all these corruption activities. And so, he wrote an angry letter to God. But the post office employees were good people. They had donated salaries because of Lencho's dire strait. So, what they thought that instead that Lencho should be thanking them for their efforts, Lencho started blaming them. Naturally, the reaction would be one of extreme anger. These are certain questions which you need to comprehend. What are the questions? Who does Lencho have complete faith in? What will be the answer? Lencho has deep and complete faith in God. He knew that God would listen to his wish and complete it. This should be your answer. Lencho was an ox of a man. What does this line mean? So, what does this line mean? The line means that Lencho was a strong boy and was willing to do anything to make his field harvest once again. He was a hard-working man rather, not a boy, he was a hard-working man. What was the postmaster like? This is another question. What was the postmaster like? What should be the answer to this particular question, children? The postmaster was a kind and generous man. It was because of his idea of collecting money from his friends and of his employees and from his own salary that he managed to give Lencho a particular amount. The faith of Lencho in God was in fact something that compelled the postmaster to take such a step. Why did the postmaster send money to Lencho? What will be the answer? When the postmaster read the letter of Lencho written to God, he first laughed. Then he became very serious and he appreciated Lencho's faith in God. The postmaster was a kind-hearted man and didn't want to shake off Lencho's faith in God. So he sent money to Lencho by partly giving an amount from his salary and collecting money from the post office employees and his friends. Now, what is the next question? What does the expression an act of charity mean? What does this expression mean? An act of charity or giving money to the needed ones without expecting anything in return. Now children, I am sure that once I have discussed the question answers, your idea about the chapter A Letter to God will become much more clearer. So, I urge all of you to take down certain important points from the slides in your notebook so that when you revise, it will be exceedingly easy for you. So, what is the next section? The next section is learning new words. Look at the first example. A violent tropical storm in which strong winds move in a circle. What is it called as? It is called as a cyclone. So, in the chapter we learnt a new word which was cyclone, and the meaning of cyclone is a violent tropical storm in which strong winds move in a circle. What is the next word meaning or the next new word that we have learnt in this chapter? Gale. G-A-L-E, gale. What does the word gale mean? An extremely strong wind. An extremely strong wind, it is called as a gale. Now children, I have been giving you word meanings of many difficult words and we are also learning new words here. But what I would want to urge you is, start making sentences on your own. Once you know the meaning of difficult words, start making sentences on your own so that you will know how to use that word properly along with correct grammar. Okay? So, I am sure all of you would be taking down these words, all of you would be remembering the word meanings, and the next task is all of you should start making sentences out of the difficult words that I have explained. Understanding the text and comprehension questions are complete. We will move on to other important things in the next slide, which I am sure you will find all the more interesting. Now children, the meaning of gale, like I told you, was an extremely strong wind. Now, let us move on to the next slide. Now, what is the meaning of typhoon? A violent tropical storm with very strong winds. So, what do we mean by the word typhoon? It is a violent tropical storm with very strong winds. Now the next new word is hurricane. What does the word hurricane mean? A violent storm with strong winds, especially in the western Atlantic Ocean. So this is the meaning of hurricane. We learnt many new words. In the previous slide it was cyclone and gale. Now it is typhoon and hurricane. What do you mean by tornado? A violent storm whose center is a cloud in the shape of a funnel. That is called as a tornado. And what do you mean by whirlwind? A very strong wind that moves very fast in a spinning movement and causes a lot of damage. That particular kind of natural phenomena is known as a whirlwind. Let's see. Making sentences of your own by using words in the story as verbs and nouns, and that too we will learn to practice it. So what is the first word? The first word is promised. How will you use it in two different ways, as noun and as verb? So the first example is, he promised that he would marry me, which is an example of a verb. And what is the noun form? There is no promise that he will recover. So look at this word. We have used it both as a word and a noun. The next word, feeling. I am feeling great today, which is a verb. And she had a feeling of happiness, which is a noun. The next word is following. What does that word mean? She was following me. Following means to go after. Okay. So how will we use it as a verb? She was following me. And how will we use it as a noun? She had large number of following. Okay. Now, surprise. How will you use the word surprise as a verb and how will you use it as a noun? He surprised me. That is how we can use the word as a verb. And how will you use it as a noun? I liked my birthday surprise. That is how you will use it as a noun. The next word is effort. How will you use it as a verb? My efforts were paid off. And noun? I love people who take efforts. So children, my point is, I am showing you how a particular word can be used as a noun and a particular word can be used as a verb. These are all examples of my own, but I am sure all of you can also come up with different wonderful examples on your own. Now, learning the language. My mother is going to host a TV show on cooking. She cooks very well. So how do you learn to interpret? How will you interpret this particular sentence? This is how we interpret. My mother, who cooks very well, is going to host a TV show on cooking. Our institution is very popular. It works for public welfare. Our institution is highly popular, which works for public welfare. So in learning the language, we see there are different words of putting a sentence which is grammatically correct, pleasant to the ears, and it also conveys the meaning. I have just given you two examples from your text, but I am sure you can come up with many more examples. Children, please be very clear. In the first part, I gave you a summary of the chapter A Letter to God. I explained to you the word meanings of certain difficult words, and then we moved on to other parts of your syllabus, which is understanding the text, comprehending questions, and then we came on to learning the language. Now again, different other examples. Satish scored a goal in the last minute. He was fortunate. How will you answer this? Satish, who was fortunate, scored a goal in the last minute. Now see, in these examples, you not only learn to interpret the language, you also learn how to convert a direct speech into an indirect speech, to use nouns and verbs, and how it will make a grammatically correct sentence. The next point or the next example, Mother Teresa is revered as a saint. She served mankind. So what will be the answer? Mother Teresa, who served mankind, is revered as a saint. I often go to Mumbai. Mumbai is the commercial capital of India. How will you put it into an appropriate grammatically correct sentence? I often go to Mumbai, which is the commercial capital of India. In the next point or in the next example, these sports persons are going to meet the president. Their performance has been excellent. Now, how will you combine the sentence and put it in a grammatically correct version? It will be like this. These sports persons whose performance has been excellent are going to meet the president. Sentences in the story with negative words, okay, which express the following ideas emphatically. The trees lost all their leaves. The flowers were gone from the plants. So, what does this mean? The flowers were gone from the plants. The trees lost all their leaves. The flowers were gone from the plants. The letter was addressed to God himself. It was nothing less than a letter to God. These are terms which express negative emotions emphatically. Now, the third point, the postman saw the address for the first time in his life. Never in his career as a postman had he known this address. Now, children, these are all negative expressions. You may come across many positive expressions as well. Like, I will give you a particular example in your chapter, which is healthy as an ox. That is a positive expression. Comparing rain to money, that is also a positive expression. But these are all examples of negative expressions. Now, children, remember, in learning the text, in comprehending the text and in learning the language, which are all parts of your textbooks and your syllabus questions, I want you to be very particular. I am sure you would have paid attention to them, but the answer should be to the point and accurate. Otherwise, you will not be getting full marks in your exams. So, I want you to be very particular. I want your answers to be exact and to the point. That is why whatever questions I have from this chapter, I have framed and taught to you by this PowerPoint presentation. Now, children, once more let us revise the chapter. Lencho was a very simple farmer. He was a devout farmer. He had great faith in God. And he was very sure of the fact that it would rain heavily and he would be able to sow a perfect golden harvest. But much to his disappointment, there was a hailstorm. The fields turned white with snow and he was not able to reap the harvest that he had dreamt of, and all his dreams died as he knew that his family would suffer from starvation. So, what he did? He wrote a letter to God. He had a faith in God which was not questionable. He went to the post office, mailed the letter. The letter was seen by the postmaster, the postman, and other employees who were very unhappy with the situation, that how a poor farmer is suffering. They collected money from amongst themselves, which amounted to 70 pesos, put it in an envelope, and when Lencho arrived the next Sunday, they handed it over to him. But Lencho, that the simple man that he was, he said that these post office employees are crooks and they have stolen money, but his faith in God remained unshakable, which is the moral of this story. No matter what adversities you are in, your faith in God should always remain unshakable and unwavering. I am sure in another part we will discuss more questions, more examples and learning the language. Thank you.